Hi, Ann P. Mitchell here, attorney, professor emeritus, federal law author, and founder of We the People Defend. I started We the People Defend to give people easy actions that you can do from home, using the internet or your voice, and without ever leaving home, to help us defend and take back our democracy from the lunacy of 2025. Please join us at wethepeopledefend.org. Yesterday, I spent a good deal of time on a call for the court hearing regarding the deportation of the plane full of people to El Salvador under Trump's Alien Enemies Proclamation. The Alien Enemies Act is part of 4 different laws collectively known as the Aliens and Sedition Acts. It was passed in 1798. It has rarely been invoked, was highly controversial when it was enacted, and the last time it was used was in 1941 after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. By law, a president can only use it when our country is at war, an actual declared war, not, something that the president calls a war because he wants to. Okay, with that background, on to yesterday's hearing and today's update. It's important to remember that in litigation, you always argue anything and everything that might possibly stick, which is why there are always a lot of this or that's, or this and or that arguments for why your side should win. So last Saturday, March 15th, Judge Bosberg issued an oral order and injunction from the bench, in other words, right there in court, which included that any airplanes in the air needed to turn around. We'll call the bench order happening at time 1, or T1. Then the judge memorialized that order in writing. That written order did not include the, quote, any airplanes in the air need to turn around. We'll call the time that the written order was issued time 2, or T2. There were 3 airplanes, which we will call Plane 1, Plane 2, and Plane 3. Planes 1 and 2 were not at issue, as they did not leave the ground. It came to light that, it is alleged, Plane 3 was in the air after T1. In other words, after the oral order from the bench, the order which included any airplanes in the air needed to turn around, was issued. The Trump administration's arguments are that even if Plane 3 was in the air after T1, that, A, the written order at T2 supersedes the oral order, and the written order does not say anything about any planes in the air needed to turn around, and so the administration believes it complied with the order, and, or, that at the time that the order was made, the plane was already in the air outside of U.S. airspace, and so not subject to the jurisdiction of the court's injunction, and so the administration believes that it was not in violation. And, or, all of the people on Plane 3 that went to El Salvador were there under other laws and acts, not under the President's Alien Enemies Act proclamation. This is somewhat plausible, as at least some of those deported were members of the MS-13 gang, which has been designated a terrorist organization, making them deportable under other laws. And so the administration believes that it wasn't in violation of the order and, or, that it didn't have to follow the order owing to lack of jurisdiction. And, or, that the President, as the executive and as the commander-in-chief of the military, has supremacy when it comes to matters of national security and international diplomacy. Yeah, they mixed it all together there. And so that it didn't have to follow the order owing to lack of jurisdiction and a conflict with the Constitution. Yesterday's hearing was set solely to determine the following facts, not to address the merits of the case. 1. At what time did Plane 3 take off from the United States? 2. At what time did Plane 3 land in El Salvador? 3. Under what authority, if not the Alien Enemies Act proclamation, was every single person on Plane 3 being deported? In other words, proof that not a single person on Plane 3 was being deported under the Alien Enemies Act proclamation, and that they can account for every single person on Plane 3 being there under another law. The lawyer for the administration emphasized several times that, quote, no planes took off from any U.S. territory after T1, which I suspect is lawyer weasel speak. Hey, I can say that as a lawyer. For, quote, it took off from outside the U.S. where we had it waiting for us to give it the word. As I said, this was supposed to be just a fact-finding hearing, no ruling on the merits. But in fact, as to the facts in question, the lawyer for the administration kept saying that, quote, he wasn't authorized to disclose that information in public because of national security. The judge reminded him that he could disclose it in secret to just the judge, and the lawyer for the administration said he was not authorized to do that either. The judge was quite peeved at that, as of course classified information is, and must be, disclosed to judges, out of public earshot, all the time. The judge ordered the administration to come back for another hearing today at 12 noon Eastern Time, either prepared to share that information with the judge or with a written declaration as to why they cannot share it with the judge, and also with a sworn statement by the lawyer, as an officer of the court, that everybody on Plane 3 was there under some authority or law other than the Alien Enemies Act proclamation. It may surprise some of you to know that these are exactly the sorts of issues that are regularly entertained by courts. After all, if there is agreement as to whether a given set of facts is controlled by a given law, there wouldn't be lawsuits, appeals, or case law. This is also exactly why things that may seem straightforward to the layperson are anything but. Lawyers are trained to understand the nuances and various rules of application of the law. If it's straightforward, it's not likely to end up in court. The only reason that something ends up in court, especially at the appeals level, is because it's not straightforward. It's literally true that an entire case can turn on the placement of a single comma. This is why you pay lawyers to draft contracts and why you pay lawyers to represent you in what seems like should be a straightforward situation. And it's why you shouldn't be taking as gospel stuff about legal issues that influencers who aren't lawyers are telling you. Today, and well before the 12 noon deadline, the administration did in fact provide the court with the sworn statement indicating that on Plane 3, every single person who was being deported was there under a law other than the proclamation using the Alien Enemies Act that is at issue in the case. And that's today's update from the legal front. Again, please join us at wethepeopledefend.org for easy, straightforward actions that you can take from home using just the internet or your phone to help us take back our democracy.